What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Beginner Bike Giveaway Series. I am once again standing behind a dual sport. What seems like I'm all of a sudden the dual sport guy on the Yammie Noob channel, which I'm fine with. They're a lot of fun. But today we have a fun little project. We are actually going to be rejetting our DRZ400 here. We put a Leo Vinci exhaust on here. It's actually just a slip-on, technically, insofar as removing half of the exhaust system can be considered a slip-on. So we do need to rejet this motorcycle. It's carbureted, which means it does not know how to adjust its fuel mixture. So that's why we have all of this stuff. Alright, so in order to rejet our DRZ400, we went ahead and purchased this, which is the DynoJet jet kit. Now I know a lot of the dual sport guys out there are going to say you should have gotten the kit that's on Thumper Talk with the thumb screws and the replacement screws for the JIS screws that are on the, I believe, the diaphragm cover. But this is what we got, and the reason why we're only going to be jetting the bike today, we have yet to do the 3x3 mod, is because I only want to have one variable at a time while I'm jetting this bike. And second thing I want to show you is my cheat sheet for today. This is my Suzuki DRZ400 SM, and well, I guess it works for the SE and the non-lettered version of the DRZ. This is my Haynes manual that I actually got when I purchased my DRZ 400 SM. The nice thing about these Haynes manuals is, unlike a factory service manual, what the Haynes manual does is it actually walks you through the process as if you're an at-home mechanic and not some OJT mechanic at a shop. So this is going to be a big help for me today. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Oh, and for those of you who are wondering why I'm wearing a jacket today, it's actually really cold in here. It was like down in the low 30s last night here in Austin, which is pretty unheard of. So it's chilly and I'm wearing a jacket. You see that big old green thing right there? That's actually our air filter. Okay, so what the 3x3 mod does is it will create a hole right, it'll create a hole right there using the original snorkel hole, and it takes it about another inch or so back, 3 inches across, 3 inches over. It's literally 3 by 3 inches, and you just cut a hole in the airbox. And then that eliminates this snorkel and theoretically allows the bike to breathe a lot better, since you're not going to be sucking air from directly under your seat. But the next step today is going to be getting the actual gas tank off of the bike. All right, as you can see, this is now officially a naked bike. Next step is going to be exercising the carburetor from this motorcycle. Oh, gas is leaking out of the tank. Of course it is. Let me show you what just happened here. I'm not sure if you can see, but this right here, that's the actual throttle body right there. These are your throttle cables. And this one right here, this is your return cable, was connected right there. This is your actual pull cable. So as you see, I pull the throttle in, this moves up, pull the throttle, close the throttle, and this goes out. So this is our open, this is our close. And now there's literally nothing actually holding our carburetor to the motorcycle. As you can see, it's moving a little bit. So I'm gonna go back on the other side and pull it out. You know what? I think this is where disconnecting the subframe a little bit might help. So I'm gonna actually loosen this bolt right here. That's a 12. We'll see if that doesn't give me a little bit more wiggle room. All right, guys. So we are officially in uncharted waters here. So I've never actually taken apart and put back together a carburetor. So we're just going to go very slowly through this process. I've got my Haynes manual here. I've got the instructions for our DynoJet kit here, which is really kind of nicely told me not to smoke or have an open flame nearby while I'm dealing with this carburetor. I guess they're worried I'm gonna blow myself up. So, here we have what's called a stage 1 and a 2 kit. So, for mildly tuned machines using the stock airbox with stock or can end filter, may also be used with a good aftermarket exhaust system, can filter SU-4000. And now stage 2 is for mildly tuned machines with then top of the airbox opened up 3 by 3 inches with stock or can air filter, should also be used with good aftermarket exhaust system. So, going by this, because we haven't opened up the top, we're simply going to be using the stage 1 kit. Let's identify exactly what parts we're going to need. There's our needle. DPS 77, that's this. If you're running with an aftermarket exhaust or slip-on with a high flow baffle, use DJ134, which is this one. All right, so I'm thinking I know what I'm doing now. Fingers crossed. Oh boy, okay. Alright guys, so I am back and the problem's solved. So let me walk you through what happened, okay? So if we're looking at the bottom of the carb here, you see 1, 2, 3, 4 holes right there, okay? Now each one of those holes has a screw in it. You see I only have 2 in there right now. Now these screws were initially Japanese industrial standard, which means it has a completely different style of Phillips head attachment which results in these getting stripped very easily by standard US stuff. So what happened was I ended up going home, and you can actually see right here, see right there, there's a little bit of a scrape. What I did was I used my Dremel tool, and I just created a slot in each one, and then used a big Phillips head and cracked those loose. And then I went over to American Bolt here in Austin, and they gave me a big old bag full. I actually ended up getting 8 instead of 4 because I figured, you know, chances are I'll have to do this on my own bike at some point. And they gave me 8 of these for $1. So I have exactly the right replacement bolt. And for those of you who are wondering, this is an M4 by 16. Now we need to get back to number 3, which is removing the stock main jet to replace with the dyno jet main jet provided. However, I do think because I was carrying this carburetor around with me while I was running these errands, I hear some stuff rattling around in there, which doesn't sound good. So I'm actually going to take the top off and inspect it real fast. Alright, so I don't know when, but the wire came out of my task cam. Here's what needs to happen. I need to get this back in here. So I pulled the subframe bolt out, and I'm going to try and get this into place. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of clearance right here on the actual frame itself. Okay, it's been a long day, but I think, fingers crossed, that the end is on the horizon. Now, what I need to do first is I want to make sure that the bike actually runs before I start buttoning everything up, because it would suck to get to that point and then figure out, well, shit, I have to take it all apart. Wow, did it start up quick. All right, guys, well, the DRZ woke right up, which is awesome. It was running strong, perhaps overly so. So now, time to stitch it all back together. I gotta rebuild the subframe for the most part. I took it basically down to the studs. So I gotta put the subframe back on right. It's just a bunch of things that need to happen before we take it out for a little test rip. All right, guys, so I have toiled and bled and toiled some more, and I got the carburetor adjusted, carb jetted rather. Now the only thing to do is go take it for a ride and see if I did a good job, or if, assuming I got it right, how it changes the character of the bike. So let's take it for a quick spin. All right, guys. So first things first, we are in a different helmet today. I'm trying it out. So this may turn out like shit. I may have to reshoot it, and if that's the case, you won't hear this one. But the results are in, and holy cow, is this a much better bike now that it has bit jetted. It's literally night and day. The last time I rode this bike, the throttle was choppy. It wasn't very rewarding. There just wasn't any real great feedback. Look, think about a dyno chart, right? It's supposed to be that big upside down parabola, right? That stops kind of here. Before, the bike was doing kind of this. It went up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down the whole time, and it really didn't feel very consistent. Now, this is giving it way more consistent throttle feel. Hey man, do I want to just go up this median and pass all this traffic. I want to try and get to my little twisty road here, but I finished right at quitting time on Friday, so it may take us a hot minute. But it's actually a decent time just to talk about kind of the on-off throttle feel. And it feels great. It's not super snatchy. There is a little bit there where it's kind of a hard judder on. I'm not sure if you can see that. I'm not sure how much of that is the jetting and how much of that is it just being a DRZ. But it pulls plenty hard. Now, one thing I am noticing is there is still a ton of popping. I'm not sure if that's the nature of thumpers and, you know, slip-ons, or if I just didn't adjust something right. But, you know, to be honest, for how much harder this thing pulls, I'm willing to live with it, honestly. Yeah, it's kind of a pain in the butt, and you don't sound very professional if you're going down the road just going pop, 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 pop. But, you know, I think that's kind of the thumper lifestyle. Giving it a little bit more air will probably help. All right, let's, from this red light, there's a nice little straightaway, and if these people get moving, I want to do kind of like a little fourth gear roll-on, just to get a feel for the new power curve, because it's literally feeling like it's a straight rise over run here. Like, instead of doing this, it's just going straight up. All right, so we're in third gear, 40 miles an hour, and let's go wide open. Bang up fourth, bang up fifth. Oh yeah, it's pulling way harder now. And again, it's super linear. And what I've noticed is if you crack the throttle, you know, open, maybe not in fifth gear, let's do it in third. Crack the throttle open, it really wants to go. You know, it's probably making, on the order of 3, 4, maybe 5 horsepower. But the problem is, you know, it's hard to judge on these little bikes because even, you know, 1 or 2 horsepower is a sizable fraction of 33 or 34. So I think we're definitely pushing a little bit closer to a solid 40 than we were before. We're officially making way more power because we actually lost some by putting this slip-on on. It kind of made the DRZ feel a little anemic. Oh yeah, this thing will just rip a wheelie so easy. I'm not going to do one right now. A, because I don't know how, and B, because we're in the middle of traffic. But seriously, this thing will just clutch itself up no problem right now. I can really feel the weight shifting around from the front suspension to the back. And so one thing I've noticed here is that I've had to adjust, I'm not sure if y'all can see, but right there is the throttle idle screw. And what it does, for those who don't know, is it very ever so slightly reduces or increases the amount that the throttle opens. Okay? And I've had to close the throttle at idle quite a bit because it was idling way higher. This is such a hooligan bike. I love it. In the meantime, let's just lower the property value around here with just a little bit of I'm such a squid now. Oh, the DRZ life has got me. But anyway, so I think the pilot valve needs a little bit of adjustment, because the on-off throttle as we get closer to idles, just a little bit choppy. So maybe there's like a little clog in the pilot jet, or a little clog in the 1/4 jet, whatever that, I think that's the pilot jet. Or it's just we're using the wrong one, or it's kind of misadjusted. But Jesus Christ, you whack the throttle open on this thing and it just wants to go. Yeah, no, this thing is much happier now. It's all over the place. It's just making more power, which is probably, a lot of you guys out there who are diehard DRZ boys are going, well, no duh, you gotta jet the bike, otherwise it's not gonna ride right. But it really does go to show the difference that the proper air-fuel mixture makes. I'm trying to think back to the last time I rode my DRZ. I'm trying to think if it makes more, less. Because remember, my bike has the 3x3 airbox mod done to it. But it does have the stock exhaust system on it. I would argue that this is probably making... it's probably making a little bit more power than mine. Again, we're talking about fractions of a horsepower here, maybe. But one thing I am noticing that's night and day between my DRZ and this one is there's way less just general shaking when you whack the throttle open from kind of 2,000-3,000-ish RPM. My bike really shakes, like it's bogging down a little bit, like you're giving it just a little too much gas, which makes me think I may have a fouled spark plug. But this thing, it's so happy straight from idle. You probably could if, oh, still stallable, but you probably could, if you wanted to, put a, do that 3x3 mod, put the stage 2 on here, and then, all you got to do is keep the carb clean. You don't have to futz with taking it apart, doing all that good stuff. But again, another part of me is like, this is the DRZ S, right? This is the off-road bike, and part of me is thinking, well, on these, dirt biased tires and wheels, I don't really want to do all of that, simply because that's not enormously helpful for this bike's true purpose. Will we do the 3x3 mod? Maybe. I'm really going to kind of petition that we don't. Just because the way this bike is running right now is just so awesome. Oh, again, it is still a little easy to stall if you let the clutch out just a little too fast. And, some people are like, oh, well, fine, it's going to make the bike better, but you know, there is no going back. And I think that if we're doing something that is that destructive, we should leave that up to the new owner's discretion, because at the end of the day, this was time consuming but not difficult. I would, if I'm going to use the RevZilla beard scale of difficulty, I would go ahead and call this probably like 1.5 beard. The toughest parts of this whole process were getting the carburetor out of the bike and putting it back into the bike. And that required a lot more futzing and mushing and stuffing than I would have liked. But again, it's back on there, and it's running great. I tested, I looked earlier for leaks, and there weren't any, and I'm gonna check when we get back to the garage, make sure it's not leaking. But I think we should just leave it as is, honestly. So with that, I think we're gonna go ahead and call the Carb jet on the DRZ, the Stage 1 jet, a total success. Now, if you would like to win this particular motorcycle here, you can go to YammieNoob.co, that's .co, not .com, and get yourself signed up. You can join our Discord server. You can also get yourself entered to win our CB650R, the Ninja 400, and we're actually getting ready to start thinking about acquiring the next round of giveaway bikes, because this giveaway's lasted quite a while. So if any of that interests you, go ahead and sign up. In the meantime, I'm gonna rip this thing around, see if I can't find any issues with it, and I will catch you guys in the next one. See you later.